All right, now, with all the World Cup fever going on, we've been watching a few of the games, getting all excited. But I found it quite interesting that a number of teams have instituted what they're calling sex rules for their players. In other words, some countries are limiting the amount and the frequency their players can have sex, while some others don't seem to think it's any big deal. Russia, Chile, Mexico have said no sex at all, while the U.S., England, Italy, and Switzerland are saying, let them fuck as much as they want. But Spain, Germany, France, Brazil, Costa Rica, and Nigeria have developed some rules, and these are kind of interesting, Mia. For Spain and Germany, sex is allowed except for the night before a match, while Costa Rica only allows players to resume relations in the second round. I guess that's an incentive to get to the next round. Then there's Brazil's rules, which allows players to have sex as long as it isn't acrobatic, while the French players are advised against all-night affairs. Nigeria specifies that players can lay with their wives, but not their girlfriends. That's kind of an interesting look. This leads to an interesting and very old question, Mia, and that is, should athletes have sex before their events or not? In other words, does sexual release dissipate your competitiveness, your aggressiveness, your focus, even your mental clarity, which you need if you're going to perform? Or do you think this is some myth?
No, I believe, sex, it does release a lot of stress and makes you relax. That's why we are all searching for sex, right? Because doing an orgasm, you just release so much of what you've been holding on.
Yeah.
And afterwards, you always feel a sense of release. You go, wow, it's like I'm finally able to relax and sleep well tonight. So if I was coach of any team, I would say no sex. Because when you are playing, you need, especially in sports like soccer, some sports you might need the sex, but you need to be a little more flexible to be more relaxed. But in a game like soccer where you're constantly running and you need all the possible energy, and in fact being a little angry and in the boiling point, or prior to the boiling point, it's what you're expecting from your players. So if I was a coach, I would agree, no sex. Just hold on. You don't need to have sex. Now your focus is on the game, and you should be concentrated in what you need to do.
Well, sex
instead of just going off and releasing a stress that maybe next day you're so infatuated with the thoughts that you had the night before that you might not perform so well. Even though you are in the game, you might still think, wow, what a great night. Or you might be holding less anger. And in those games, it's almost important to be at the edge of exploding.
So you would, as coach of the Brazilian team, let's say, you would say no sex before?
I would say no sex.
The night before?
No, I would say no sex for a whole week.
Wow.
Hold on a whole week. You don't need to have any sex when you're concentrated on those games. For what? You're there to play, and that's only ever 4 years. Why? If your life every day and you're living in a place, then you cannot really stop anybody because that's part of life, sex.
Right.
Let's put it that way.
Right.
But when it comes to international competition that only happens every 4 years, they'll say, no, hold on. You don't need sex. You can talk, you can hold, you can kiss, you can distress by talking to your loved ones or lover, whatever it might be.
Well, wait a minute.
But hold on to. I say talking, which is totally different than sex.
Well, no, wait. Now, athletes are notoriously promiscuous. And do you think that's realistic to say to an athlete, hey, hold it in and don't seek that? I mean, is that a realistic thing to say?
It is realistic. Even though they are surrounded by women and a woman wanting to have sex with them constantly, you'd say, they need to know their limits too. They need to know and they know best. Maybe one or two guys will say, hey, I perform better when I do that way. Maybe they should do a test and try to see what a difference it makes. I'm sure they've done tests before. That's why they put limits in many of the players.
Right. It
does make a difference.
Well, abstinence is the term we're talking about, and it's long been felt that is an important thing, and that it's an important way to balance your lives. But I want to so no sex before the game. Let me expand this out a little bit. This prohibitum to include normal people doing everyday tasks. Okay, I ask this because there seems to have been an explosion of sexuality in the last decade or so.